Hear some speeches. So, first up is Steve. The title of the speech is, I am sexy and I know it. You didn't hear me, I'll say it again. I am sexy and I know it. Steve joined Toastmasters 6 months ago. He is a volunteer and a community activist on many issues that are important to him, including inspiring others and giving back and making a difference in any way he can. He has done this through syndicated newspaper columns, started a weekly magazine in Cleveland called Inside Out, written a book, worked with various TV stations in Ohio and North Carolina to support his goal of making a difference. And now that he's bragged enough about himself, I'd like to welcome Steve. I am sexy and I know it. Don't worry, it says it in here.
Thank you, Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters and guests. So, picture this. It is August 1989, Stromsville, Ohio, and my 25-year-old self. And my grandfather had open heart surgery and about 2 weeks prior, and I was there to take care of him. I'm not sure why. I was a paramedic at the time. He trusted me over the home health people, but I was there for 2 weeks. And one morning I was sitting at the kitchen table with my grandmother, and she came through the kitchen and shuffled through the kitchen into the dining room. And she shuffled up to the table, and she bent over, and I didn't really see it, and then she shuffled away. So later on that day, I was sitting at the table, and she would talk about the stories, the soap operas, and she'd repeat them over and over. They were our friends. I was supposed to know who they were. But somebody pulled in the driveway, and she turned away. She took it out of her pocket and put it back in, or put it in. So that night, we're still sitting at the table, and she shuffled back into the dining room, and she took it out, and she put it in the box, very gingerly, and there's like some little grass or something in there. And what that was, and she shuffled away, and what that was her prosthetic breast. And she had had mastectomy, sorry. She had a mastectomy about 6 months earlier, and I really didn't understand what any of that was or what it meant. So, being 25 and a guy, I thought I really needed to understand what that was. So, what I want to share with you is a little bit about what that is and why people get a prosthetic breast. There are 4 reasons, really. One being that it equalizes weight, which is kind of funny to hear me say, but it equalizes weight. It also provides for symmetry from a cosmetic level, and then it helps with self-esteem. And the 4th one, which I think is important, is it puts it behind them. It puts a cancer behind them. Which, if somebody were to lose a leg or to lose an arm, we would expect them to get a prosthetic. So when people talk about a prosthetic breast or reconstructive surgery, I think it becomes uncomfortable for people to hear about or to even understand it a little bit. So I really learned a lot from my grandmother on that day. And she died in November, on November 11th. And she died on the 13th. I would have triskaidekaphobia, but I actually have secondekaphobia, which is fear of the number 17, so that's funny to me. But she died in November of 1999, and I would talk about that day that I watched her shuffle in and out of the dining room, because in that moment when I was sitting at the table, not only was I learning something about her breast cancer, which we had never really talked about, so I hadn't even known about that surgery prior. It was in that moment that my grandma became a woman. It was in that moment that I started to understand the importance of aging with dignity and preserving identity, which is really what that box represented. She never talked about it for the whole 10 years, from 89 to 99. And after she died, we really talked about the strength that she had and the perseverance that she taught us, just with that simple act. Again, something that none of us really ever knew about. So when she died, there were I talk about it all the time, there were 23 grandkids, the one gay one, so I'm not really sure how this happened, but I ended up with the breast. So this is her breast that she took out and put in a little grass in the dining room. And it shows up at family functions every once in a while. And I was going to show you my Facebook page. We're all posing with it at Christmas and whatnot. And it really isn't irreverence at all. My one aunt gets a little frustrated with this sometimes. It is not about irreverence, it's really about representing the strength of her. And so she died 15 years ago, and we still talk about it. I still talk about really that tender moment where she shuffled in and out of that dining room, and really what that meant to me. So getting to the point, which is what the topic of speech number 3 is about, I think that we all age with dignity. We all have to preserve our identity for whatever that is. And I'm trying to stretch this in my 5 minutes. And really, I think that we need to extend ourselves beyond our comfort zone. Speaking as a guy, I don't know anyone else who died of breast cancer other than my grandma. I didn't really know anything about it. I supported now, I get involved with Susan D. Komen. And I'm not going to qualify, but that's it.